Gildan Media, a division of Recorded Books, presents The Extreme Future, the top trends that will reshape the world in the next 20 years, by James Canton, narrated by Danny Campbell. Introduction. The White House. On a warm spring day in June 2002, I approached the White House with a mix of anticipation and curiosity. I had been invited along with a small group of CEOs from IBM, AT&T, and other U.S. corporations to meet with President George W. Bush and his cabinet to discuss one of the central challenges of our time. How should we think differently about the future? It was a question that had been on the mind of almost every American for the previous 9 months. The 9/11 attacks had destroyed more than the lives of those killed by the terrorists. It had drastically altered America's vision of the future by introducing uncertainty and fear into our culture for the first time in generations. The deadly assault on the symbols of American economic and military might exposed our vulnerability and shattered our reality. The almost infinite optimism about the future, so central to the American psyche, was damaged that day along with the World Trade Center towers and the Pentagon. Yet still, here we were. As I filed past security and entered the back of the Oval Office, I could sense a keen anxiety building in the room. I had been asked ahead of time to prepare a briefing for the President and his advisers, which I had done, so they knew my perspective. Now I wanted to hear theirs. I looked around and saw the blue and gold seal of the Office of the President, with its bald eagle resting proudly on the podium. The stage was set. As each cabinet member marched in to describe his or her key challenges in such areas as education, energy, security, and healthcare, the very nature of their comments made it apparent that a transformation was underway. They brought up the inability of computer databases to work together, the lack of trained people to inspect the nation's food supply, the immensity of security issues, and the work yet to be done to protect the nation. The room buzzed with the barely suppressed excitement that comes with the rare experience of hearing straight talk in the halls of power. America's leaders, as well as most Americans themselves, had begun to recognize that nothing would be the same. Everything after 9/11 was a clean slate. There was a new, complex future emerging, an extreme future of disruptions, risks, threats, and perhaps new opportunities that no one, not even our leaders, fully understood. A door opened suddenly, and in walked President Bush. His first words took me by surprise. "We know we do not have all of the answers," he told us. "We need your help in preparing the nation for the future." Few of us in the room were prepared for the President of the United States to address us in such a candid way. In that moment, my realization of the nation's and the world's immense challenges that will confront us all in the future inspired me to create this book. I have become increasingly concerned that we are not moving fast enough to make the changes essential to better manage the future. This may be due to the complex changes looming in the future that escape the capacity of most of our leaders in government to fully understand. We need to move faster to avoid risk and invest in opportunity. It is my hope that this book will stimulate a new understanding about the future, spark productive debate, and even prompt bold, immediate actions to create a more desired future. I want to challenge you to see the future as a designable event that the individual can influence. Preventing the next crises of the future, from poverty to war, will require new ideas yet unborn. A different type of thinking that will invent solutions will be in demand if we are to avert the risks in the extreme future. My journey from the White House that day in 2002 has reminded me that there is room for a new vision of the future to emerge. Also, there is an urgency to invent the new and resolve the global challenges that threaten us all. The trends reported here are cast with hope, not alarm. We must strive to design the future that we want. Dr. James Canton, San Francisco, Institute for Global Futures, www.globalfuturist.com. The Top 10 Trends of Extreme Future. 1. Fueling the Future. The energy crisis, the post-oil future, and the future of energy alternatives like hydrogen. The critical role that energy will play in every aspect of our lives in the 21st century. 2. The innovation economy. The transformation of the global economy based on the convergence of free trade, technology, and democracy, driving new jobs, new markets, globalization, competition, peace, and security. The 4 power tools of the emerging innovation economy are nano, bio, IT, neuro. 3. The next workforce. How the workforce of the U.S. is becoming more multicultural, more female, and more Hispanic. Why the future workforce must embrace innovation to become globally competitive. 4. Longevity medicine. The key forces that will radically alter medicine, such as nanotech, neurotech, and genomics, leading to longer and healthier lives. 5. Weird science. How future science will transform every aspect of our lives, culture, and economy, from teleportation to nanobiology to multiple universes. 6. Securing the future. The top threats to our freedom and our lives, from criminals to terrorists to mind control, defining the risk landscape of the 21st century. 7. The future of globalization. Cultures in collision. The new realities of global trade and competition, the rise of China and India, the clash of cultures and values, and the ideological battle for the future. 8. The future of climate change. How the environment is changing and how we need to prepare for increased global warming, pollution, and threats to health. How we must change. 9. The future of the individual. Navigating the threats from technology, governments, and ideologies in the struggle for human rights, liberty, and the freedom of the individual in the 21st century. 10. The future of America and China. How the destiny of these 2 great nations, from capitalism to democracy to innovation and security, will shape the future. Chapter 1. Welcome to the Extreme Future. Are you interested in the future of your industry? Where your future customers may come from? What about your career or your next one? Maybe you're interested in your child's future or America's future. Are you interested in identifying the risks that might threaten your life? Do you want to become more aware of what your business competition is thinking? Do you want advanced insight into innovations that will shape the future marketplace? Are you interested in how future consumers of your products or services may change? If so, you need this book. Welcome to the Extreme Future. I run a San Francisco-based think tank called the Institute for Global Futures. In that role, I advise government leaders and many Fortune 1000 companies about the key trends that will shape the future. Many of these leading companies, such as General Electric, IBM, UPS, Motorola, Fujitsu, Philips, MasterCard, and others, have used my firm for 2 decades to analyze what's coming next. I am a business futurist concerned mostly with my clients' interests in global competition, innovation, people, and profits. At the same time, I have been successful at getting my clients to consider emerging issues such as security, climate, and energy. In many ways, this book has been shaped by my experiences with those clients and their struggles to discover what's next. But this is not only a book for business leaders. Understanding and preparing for the future, and learning to use the tools that make that possible, is a responsibility all of us share, for the sake of our own interests as well as society's. Everyone needs to think differently about the future, a future that is riddled with change, challenge, and risk. It is a new kind of future, not the steady plodding of progress from one moment to the next, punctuated by brief bursts of innovation that characterizes much of history. Now we face a post-9/11 future. The future of our lives, of our work, of our businesses, and most of all, the future of our world, depends on us gaining a new understanding of the dizzying changes that lie ahead. I call this future readiness. This book is an action plan for you to consider how to learn more about the top trends that will drive future change. Radical change is coming. I call this the extreme future. This is a highly dynamic, disruptive, and multidimensional future. Although the changes wrought by 9/11 and the subsequent focus on global security and terrorism are central to understanding what comes next, they are not the only trends driving the extreme future. Events such as the mapping of the human genome, the end of the Cold War, the rise of China, the Internet, globalization, existing and potential epidemics, and what I call weird science contribute heavily to the need to find new ways to understand the future. These recent events instantly made previous books about the future obsolete. We face a new future in which uncertainty reigns supreme. This book is your briefing on how to understand, adapt, and thrive in the new world taking shape. 5 factors that will define the extreme future. 1. Speed. The rate of change will be blinding, comprehensive in scope, and will touch every aspect of your life. 2. Complexity. A quantum leap in the number of seemingly unrelated forces that will have a direct bearing on everything from lifestyles to work to personal and national security. 3. Risk. New risks, higher risks, and more threats from terror to crime to global economic upheaval will alter every aspect of your life. 4. Change. Drastic adjustments in your work, community, and relationships will force you to adapt quickly to radical changes. 5. Surprise. Sometimes good, sometimes difficult to imagine, surprise will become a daily feature of your life, often challenging sensibility and logic. Tracking the future. I have learned to forecast the future by identifying the tracks and patterns that lead to change. If you've ever walked through a wilderness with an experienced guide, you might have marveled at his or her ability to tell you in advance about unseen risks, such as a nearby mountain lion's den, or opportunities, such as a hidden source of fresh water. Subtle signs, often overlooked by the untrained eye, reveal entire worlds to someone who knows how to read them in context. In many ways, what I do, and what you can learn to do, is not much different. Tracking the future, figuring out what is going to happen when, is as much art as science. The person who first aligned my perspective about the importance of gaining insights about the future was the author and visionary Alvin Toffler. Toffler is known for his seminal 1970 book, Future Shock, which provided a unique perspective on tomorrow. He arrived on the scene with a mission built on a perspective that was powerful yet easy to grasp. As a society, we were becoming inundated with and overwhelmed by technological and social changes, resulting in a stressful and disorienting condition he called future shock. This concept struck a familiar chord with many individuals who indeed were having a difficult time coping with the rapid changes that characterizes modern life. Also, he successfully cautioned that, as a society, we were not thinking enough about the future. This change in mindsets, to consider the impact of our decisions today and what their impact would be in the future, was important to the art of forecasting. We needed to anticipate our desired futures, or we would be dealt futures not by choice, but by happenstance. I was a graduate student in the mid-1970s. During that time, I worked with Toffler on his various projects, especially the Anticipatory Democracy Network, a U.S. congressional advisory group he founded. The purpose of the AD network, as we called it, was to introduce into the government's decision-making process a foresight capability. Could we embed forecasting into the social policy of the United States? This was an early real application of future forecasting in government. This project influenced the thinking and actions of presidents, senators, members of Congress, and other national leaders. It exposed me to a unique perspective that molded my thinking when I became policy advisor to the U.S. government. This set me on my current path. In the decades since, I have dedicated myself to finding new ways to see into the future. This is not soothsaying or crystal ball gazing. I'm talking about taking an educated and informed look ahead at the good and the bad, the scary and the sublime, the beautiful and the terrifying, to identify, sort, and analyze the innovations and trends that will shape the future. I use a variety of tools, from market research and computer models to human intelligence, to map the future. In doing so, I have developed insights into ways to look over the hill to see what may be coming. While others look at today, or perhaps toward next quarter's earnings, or at most ahead to next year, I define time in 3 categories: near term, 1 to 3 years, mid-term, 3 to 10 years, and long-term, 10 to 50 years. The extreme future is actually drawn in part from a long-range strategic forecasting project undertaken by the Institute for Global Futures for a variety of global Fortune 1000 companies and government agencies. The forecasts from this project are used today with clients for strategic planning, investments, product development, risk analysis, business development, and social policy. Those studies and key forecasts contained in them were for the most part accurate, before their time, and missed by others. Yes, I have missed calculations. No one is perfect, especially in forecasting the future. Overall, though, my record has reflected an ability to apply what I call future vision, based not on luck or intuition, but on skill and training in the art of identifying logical patterns of events and fitting them together into probable outcomes. What follows are several of my greatest hits, some of which will be chronicled here. Holistic information awareness is the single factor a person can control in making a decision. A more convergent view of different, seemingly unrelated trends like health and security or economic growth and energy provides a more accurate path to forecasting the future. The question is, what is the right information needed to make an important decision? It's a matter of quality versus quantity. It is vital to recognize that although there are many things a person cannot control, climate, energy, terrorism, bad genetics, etc., those X factors can be more successfully managed in decision-making when individuals cast the widest possible information net. Some past forecasts. Information technology, especially the Internet and wireless, will become a strategic competitive weapon in business. Energy terrorism will emerge. U.S. youth will lack future readiness to compete in the global economy. DNA will be used for predictive healthcare, longevity, and security. There will be a decline in petrol reserves, leading to energy innovations and global conflict. China will rise as a competitive global leader hungry for energy, capitalism, and peace. There will be a revolution in molecular manufacturing, known as nanotech. Products that think will emerge. Human performance enhancement will drive healthcare's transformation. There will be an explosive growth of the personal security market. The convergence of nanotechnology, biotechnology, information technology, and neurotechnology will drive innovation in future markets. The clean tech market will emerge, promoting social responsibility and profit. Knowledge talent must compete in a global innovation-based economy free from borders. Innovation will be a key future driver of prosperity, democracy, and wealth creation. Demographic shifts in population will shape the future of healthcare, security, and commerce. This book has 3 objectives. 1. To explain the extreme future. 2. To help you better prepare for the extreme future. 3. To enable you to adapt, shape opportunity, and avoid risks. Seeing and shaping the future. Most people, though they are largely unaware of it, take stabs at forecasting the future every day. Almost every important action we take or decision we make is linked to our hope or expectation that it will have a positive impact on our lives in the future. Recognizing that this is the first step toward understanding not just the future, but how the future is born, how it emerges, even how it is created, is a way to guide you to improved foresight and decision-making. As you listen on, keep in mind that this book is not just about what the key trends are, but how you can learn to predict trends and distinguish between important and ordinary trends. In other words, this is a blueprint for developing what I call predictive awareness. Developing a predictive awareness about the future is about knowing where to look, what to see, and how to apply it for benefit. Some people challenge the viability of forecasting. To them, the very idea that someone can predict the future, let alone shape the future, seems absurd. They think the future is a random occurrence of events, unknowable and untouchable until they occur, and only fully understood in hindsight. They are mistaken. If you are someone who accepts this reactive way of thinking, then be prepared to be blindsided by competitors, attacked by invaders, and made to witness changes that are not kind to your denial of reality. A refusal to believe that the future is knowable guarantees the increase of risk. Not only is the future possible to anticipate, but also the way you think about the future as a sequence of events that can be influenced by personal choice and design may be one of the most powerful forces in your life. People who go through life being reactive victims of the future often miss that you can change the future by first changing your perception of it. You can influence your future, but you need 1. A future vision, clear vision of where you are going. 2. A sound strategy to get there. 3. Tools to persuade key people, colleagues, teammates, family members, and so on, to commit to a shared vision and strategy. 4. Effective execution. Future vision. 2 weeks before Nelson Mandela's government took over from the apartheid government of President F.W. de Klerk, I flew to South Africa to talk with leading business and financial executives the first day and with ministers and advisors to Mandela the next day. This historic moment marked the transition from a failed yet long-standing government based on the institution of racial segregation to one in which political control would pass to the majority of citizens, the native black South Africans. It was a time of havoc, uncertainty, and excitement. My meetings with the all-white business leaders and the all-black South African advisors to Mandela centered on one question: how can we work together with the support of the world to build a better future for South Africa? This was the right question at the right time. As we began our conversation, the next question became clear to me. What do you envision to be the future of South Africa in 2020? It was evident that neither group had considered what the future might look like for their nation by 2020. They did not have a future vision. When there is no future vision, there is nothing to work toward creating. The lack of a goal to work toward will result in failure. This is a starting point for nations, organizations, and individuals. As Martin Luther King Jr. said with certainty, "I have a dream." He knew precisely the future he was pointing toward, working toward, driving toward, and every action he took, every idea he championed was designed to get there. What if we ask, how can the United States vastly improve its public education system over the next decade to ensure that the next workforce, necessary to replace the aging baby boomers and to finance the future stability of Social Security, will have the skills necessary to compete in the global high-tech marketplace? Failure to create a future vision that will successfully answer this question will lead to more outsourcing, the loss of U.S. jobs, and a reduction in the quality of life. This is not something you can change in 10 or 20 years. You have to change it now. If we do not shape the desired future of a globally competitive workforce, our nation will falter. This is a serious forecast about the future not just of America, but of the economic and security role of America throughout the free world. If America declines in productivity due to the inability of its workforce to be competitive, the engine of prosperity will stall, and the influence America wields on the world stage will be severely diminished. Global security, innovation, and democracy may decline. We are headed for choppy waters. The chapter on the future workforce will explain these forecasts. Forecasting the future can be dangerous because you are often forced to face realities that can only be dealt with via painful change. You may need to change your ideas about what is possible. The world of 2020. I often say to my clients, "What do you envision your company will look like in 2020? I usually get stares of disbelief. Or I have asked clients, "Where is the energy industry given shifting oil reserves in 2020? Once the confusion evaporates, clients usually get into the swing of things. What kinds of products, customers, competition, and markets are you in by 2020, given these trends that we see emerging today? How might changes in economics, technology, climate, or energy shape this future?" Once we create a clear picture of a company's state by 2020, we can then work backward to organize the plans, scenarios, resources, and strategies to achieve that future vision. The directed design of one's future as an individual, nation, or company is only possible with the starting point of a clear future vision. This end point in some stated future time period, 5 years or 25 years hence, is the first step. What does your future look like in 2020? Most leaders and most individuals have not considered their future as much as they should to effectively create actions today that can forge an optimal desired future. They don't have a clear and concise idea about what they want, making it nearly impossible to achieve future success. My approach to strategic planning offers an alternative to a process that too often bogs down strategy or offers incomplete information, making it difficult to create success. The Kill Your Future game. I developed an exercise that I use in this book, and I have used with many clients. It is the Kill Your Future game. In this game, you, the contestant, attempt to kill your future. That is, you envision future scenarios that are conceivable, yet so bleak that, if left unchecked, could destroy all that you've created. This approach can be used by business, government, or individuals. I came up with the idea on a project with the leadership of Federal Express. We played Kill Your Future with the executive leadership. I created a scenario in which a competitor stole 50% of FedEx's customers with a crafty pricing strategy called ShipThis.com. The executives admitted this could happen. It led to a new conversation about competition, and a new strategy emerged. Strategic planning in the global enterprise and in government is flawed. It is not always practiced with an objective approach to having all of the right information to make often critical decisions affecting millions of people's lives and costing billions of dollars. Too much time and too much money is spent looking in the wrong place. By contrast, future planning built on a Kill Your Future platform is a fast way of identifying real threats that confront you, your family, your organization, or your nation. That, in turn, can begin to
Sample complete. Ready to continue?